Hi, it's Tom here from Running Physio. Today I want to talk to you about power, a really important part of rehab that's often neglected. So today I want to talk to you about 4 main reasons why I would want to prioritise power when working with patients that you see in clinic. Now, first up, point number 1 then, is that power is actually important to a range of different patients. We might think of assessing it and addressing it in sprinters, in elite athletes, in boxers, rugby players, people we think of as traditionally powerful. But actually, power is this ability to produce force at speed, which we all need, certainly within sports, but also within everyday life activity as well. Now, you might think power is only being necessary for end-stage rehab or elite athletes, but actually there's evidence that it's important even among older adults. That loss of power seems to link to things like functional mobility and risk of falling, and actually our physical capabilities as we get older. So you might not think of perhaps older patients as needing power, but they do as well. Lots of our patients do as well. Now, particularly, we know we need power within sport. My sport, of course, is running. Now, running, even endurance running, requires quite a lot of power. If you think about what's involved in the running gait cycle, as we're running along, the foot is in contact with the ground for less than a third of a second. That's all the time we have to exert force on the ground to propel ourselves forward. So we need to be able to do that really quickly. We need to produce force at speed, and that's essentially what power is. We then need to be able to repeat that around about 160 to 180 times per minute. So even our endurance runners need to have power, as well as a lot of patients that we see in clinic. And often I find it's a missing piece for people when they haven't been able to successfully return to their sport. They haven't done the power work. Maybe they've got strong, they've settled symptoms, but they haven't looked to develop power. So point number 1 is we want to prioritize power because it's important to a range of different patients. A lot of people we see at varying different levels actually need to do some work on power. Point 2 is actually there's quite a lot of evidence now that power is impaired following injury. We've seen in some research a 30% reduction in patients with patellofemoral pain, for example, and reductions in power and plyometric ability in people with tendinopathy, for example, Achilles tendinopathy. Also, the evidence suggests that power doesn't necessarily come back unless it's specifically addressed. In some research by Silbernagel et al., for example, they found even 6 months of recommended rehab didn't restore a lot of the plyometric abilities and power unless they were specifically worked at. So it's important for a range of patients, it's impaired following injury, and it won't necessarily come back unless you work on it. Okay, point number 3, and this isn't often discussed, is that there's likely to be a link between power and the development of pain, particularly if you have the lack of power and inability to produce force quickly. I think that's likely to lead to pain during your sport, particularly if that's not addressed as part of rehab. Now, a lot of people that I work with, a lot of runners may only get symptoms during their sport. They might not have pain with day-to-day life, and actually that's what's bothering them. That's why they're coming to see me. It's not that they've got highly irritable symptoms that are causing them pain all day. It's that they can't get back to the level of sport that they want to. So what separates their sport, their running, from day-to-day life? Well, it's the presence of impact, speed, and power. And I think it's often that they haven't restored the power and they've rushed back into the sport. And because they haven't really prepared their body for the demands of the sport, including being powerful, they then start to get symptoms again. And then they feel like they're back to square one. They have a flare up. So it's important that we restore power as part of our rehab to prepare people for the demands of the sport so that they can manage the sport without pain. And I do think if we don't restore power, particularly in running sports and activities of daily living that need power, that may lead to people struggling to do those activities and having symptoms. So I think it's an important thing to work on. So that's point 3. it may well be that power is linked to pain, and if you don't restore it, people are going to struggle during their sporting activity. Final point here, point 4, is power is really important for performance in several day-to-day tasks, but also particularly in our sporting activities. If you want to run, if you want to change direction, if you want to accelerate, you need to be able to produce force and produce it quickly. You need to be powerful. So if there's one thing I would take from this video, is I would consider your patient's needs in terms of power, particularly if they're doing sports that involve powerful actions, or they're telling you that certain activities that require a fast action are provoking their symptoms. Telltale signs in runners, for example, might be struggling to increase their speed without symptoms, like increasing the pace of their training, legs feeling a bit sluggish or heavy, not very responsive. That's often, I think, as a result of just not being able to produce that force quickly enough, not having that zip, that springiness that we can give them back when we help them to work on their power. Now, we talk about power. One of the problems a lot of health professionals have is they're not confident in how to assess it and how to address it in clinic. And I think that's sometimes why it gets a little bit neglected. Now, with this in mind, we've developed some fantastic content to help you assess and address power in clinic. And we've put it all together in a brilliant power and performance package that's available if you enroll on Running Repairs online today. Now, that offer is closing very soon, so I would click the link that we've shared there to check that out. This package has got 3 main parts to it. So when you enroll on the Running Repairs online course, you get access to all 18 modules, but you also, as part of this package, get a whole extra module, a 90-minute power up bonus module, which is designed to help you assess and address power in people you see in clinic, and it gives you a range of brilliant exercise options you can use. We've also got our Building Power and Performance for Injured Athletes guide, which takes you through enhancing power and performance from the very first session, including 5 clear steps to develop speed, which, as you know, is an essential component of power. Plus, we've got our athlete assessment cheat sheet, which takes you through all the key assessments you want to do in clinic of things like strength, control, flexibility, impact and plyometrics. So you've got everything you need there on one sheet that you can then record accurately and refer to for the next session, and look at how people are then progressing through the rehab. So that's a 3-part bonus that's available for you if you enroll on Running Repairs online today to help you address power in the patients that you see in clinic. So let's have a quick recap then of our 4 reasons to prioritize power in patients that you see. Firstly, is that it's vital to a range of patients, not just athletes. We talked about it being important in older athletes, older patients as well. Secondly, that it does seem to be impaired following injury, and it doesn't come back unless we address it specifically. Thirdly, that it can be linked to pain. If we haven't got enough power for the demands of our sport, then things often will start to hurt. And fourth, power is important for performance in sport and also multiple day-to-day tasks. So we want to make sure that we build that power and prepare people for the demands of their goal activity. So if you'd like to find out more about our online course and this fantastic bonus package, do click the link, visit our course page. You'll find out all about how the course will help you and more about this brilliant bonus. Okay, if you've got any questions about this video or the course or anything else, please let me know in the replies, and I'll look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for listening in. Bye for now.